What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Far From Up. I'm Scott here with Michael, as always, and today we're talking about Fallout.
Yes, if you can't notice by the big Fallout footage going on, our Fallout 4 builds were something that really took our channel big.
Yeah.
We've always been big Fallout fans. We haven't done Fallout in a while. Obviously, 76 was a little more than disappointing.
Put a bit of a damper on it, because
Yeah.
I remember looking at 76's the first teaser trailer stuff. I'm like, oh my god, are we actually getting like a sort of like Fallout
game.
New Vegas kind of feel? Like there'd be a new game that's just on the Fallout 4 engine. Didn't happen. But yeah, so I guess today we wanted to talk about the kind of like the Elder Scrolls problem. There's the Fallout problem. Recently, there's been the announcement from Bethesda, by Todd
Howard in an interview saying after Elder Scrolls 6, we've got Fallout 5 coming, so there's a lot on our plate. It was kind of like there wasn't much hype. It was just like, yeah, we're doing it. And that's the trend now, right? Like originally they'd say, Fallout 4 is real and it's out in 6 months, and now it's like Fallout 5 is real, it's out in 10 years or something. We'll see.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy too, because like I guess we sort of expected that Fallout 5 is going to be forever away, because Starfield was forever away for a while, and now that's closer. But then there's Elder Scrolls 6 is pre-production only, so Fallout 5 you just may as well not even think about it. But I guess what we wanted to talk about there is just like, what are they going to do with this IP? Because Microsoft just spent a whole lot of money buying Bethesda and some of their biggest IPs, Fallout and Elder Scrolls. And as we talked about with Elder Scrolls, they got Elder Scrolls Online going.
And you don't buy a business like that for the manpower, right? Obviously that's great, but it's like, you buy Star Wars because of the IP.
Yeah.
If you're Disney, you don't buy it because you want the people who, worked at LucasArts or whatever the case may be.
You can hire more people.
You want to do Star Wars stuff.
Yeah, you can hire more people, but you can't replicate the IP without coming into problems.
Exactly. So if you look at, Fallout, they can make a whole lot of money there's lots of rumors going around about remasters, but that would be, in my opinion, a good thing to do.
Yeah, and because I don't know, imagine sitting on it. Fallout 5's not actually out. Say it's 10 years from Starfield, right? So 5 years to Elder Scrolls 6 or whatever. You're looking at like 33 or 2032 or something like that, right? That's ridiculously long.
Like the good news is, at least to me, and probably you as well, is that at least they confirmed it's coming after Elder Scrolls 6, because I would be pretty, upset if it was like, oh, what's next? Starfield 2. And then, Starfield did really well. Here's Starfield 3. So it is nice that if we are getting Fallout 5, if I'm trying to be optimistic, it's nice that we're going to get it. What it's going to look like by the time it comes out is hard to say. One big thing I'll say, to give Bethesda some credit, right? It does seem like finally they're listening. I mean, you look at like a lot of the stuff they've said about Starfield, whether or not you think it looks amazing, or you're more, cautiously optimistic like us, and you're not the biggest fan of the NASA punk stuff, and maybe it's going to be shallow and not as deep as they say, but it does sound like they're taking things in the right direction. They have said, we listened to these concerns, so we're bringing back more role-playing, opportunities than we've ever had, and there's whatever it is, 200,000 lines of dialogue and all this, crazy kind of stuff, and different ways you can play the game. You can be good or evil. All these kind of opportunities that you'd expect in a role-playing game, you're going to get in Starfield. And if that's received well, then I think we're going to get more of that in Elder Scrolls 6. And if that's received well, I think we're going to get more of that in Fallout 5. And I know that's a long chain of cause and effect, but I do think it's important, because that's why you got all the base building emphasis, is because I heard this when I was in West Virginia, for Fallout 76, and you hear people work at Bethesda and they're like, I just had so many fans tell me that they just spent hundreds of hours on base building. And so, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if the feedback they get from Starfield is like, oh my gosh, the base building is the funnest part of the game, you're probably going to get way more emphasis, which I don't want, of that in future games, because, it's, they're learning as they go along what people like. I just want the role-playing stuff in Starfield to be good and to be received really well, because then I think they'll double down on what works and we'll get more of that. Kind of unrelated to Fallout, but I could easily see a system. Well, actually, it does relate to Fallout, but I could see them potentially, if people like the way that the skills and the perks work in Starfield, that they'll actually do that in Fallout. Like, imagine Todd says, like, oh, you guys really like level by doing in Elder Scrolls. Now it's in Fallout, but it's not the level by doing that, in my opinion, would ruin certain skills in Fallout, like science, like medicine, but it's maybe you can allocate, you have skill points or perk points or whatever the case may be, but there's the challenge-based stuff that we've kind of seen from Starfield of like, you got to kill 250 people with an assault rifle to level up or get this perk or something along those lines.
I love the principle and the sort of like novelty of level by doing, but I'm not huge. I do just like an old-fashioned XP, add skills, pick perk, done.
Oh, it is
and
good.
It's like, and it's that kind of thing where it's like, if it becomes the trademark, because I feel like there would be enough time between Fallout 4 and Fallout 5 easily, like 10 years for them. If it works in Starfield, obviously they're going to do it in Elder Scrolls 6 because Elder Scrolls 6 is the signature kind of thing.
But it'd be weird because I know it sounds crazy, and I don't want to deviate from the topic too much. It sounds crazy that they would take out skills from Elder Scrolls, but tell a Fallout fan that before Fallout 4. Like when we watched the Fallout 4 trailer, we were one of the first people we were the first that I saw saying it kind of looks like there's no skills on the Pip-Boy, and people said we were wrong, we're crazy. Then there were no skills. They had this new perk system that we'd never had before. Now they're kind of using that as a template for Starfield. You could easily see that carry through to Fallout 5.
The one thing with the Elder Scrolls 6, though, I don't think it would happen in that regard, is that Fallout 4 still had the special stats to ground something, to sort of ground the system and so on, whereas they've taken attributes out of Elder Scrolls.
But they might put them back in if people like the role-playing and character-building stuff in Starfield. You just don't know. Like we talked about in the Elder Scrolls Problem video, there is so long between Skyrim and Elder Scrolls 6 that it's going to be kind of like a soft reboot, and I wouldn't be surprised if Fallout has, the same thing. Although, just real quick, I will say, if they do remaster Fallout 3 or New Vegas or both, and people, it sells like hotcakes and it does really well, they might be more inclined to, put the things that people love about those games in Fallout 5 and not strip them out and take them away. Because what I get sick of hearing is, but this game sold really well. It's like, yeah, of course it did. Look how much the gaming industry has grown.
Especially when you got like 5+ years between releases.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I don't know exact numbers, but you take it from this many billion to this many billion, in the industry. You take it from this player base to this player base where you got to think culturally speaking, everyone knows that gamers, even when we were born, they were like adult gamers. They were nerds and it wasn't cool to game, and then you grow up. Everyone is a gamer now.
Yeah.
It's not uncool to be into games, right? So the player base is huge.
Yeah.
So to look at a game and be like, well, Fallout 4 sold better than Fallout. That is not an indication that the mechanics or anything was... Yeah. There's more players. There's more people buying the product. It's just silly to think. And so I think fan feedback, as they saw with... Because I'm sure 76... Well, I'm not sure, but... A lot of these online games, like the Elder Scrolls Online, they actually make so much more money than the single-player games.
They must, otherwise why would
I've been told by people who work at Bethesda that they make a lot of money. They don't say how much, but they're like, dude, if you knew how much money this makes.
Yeah.
They make a lot of money. Money is not everything as far as how good a game is.
Yeah, of course.
And so I just want those role-playing things to be there.
There's a lot of hidden gem games that go unnoticed, and they're great games, but you'll never play.
Yeah. The point basically being, Fallout 5 is going to be a very different game. I just hope that they can really look at the fan feedback from role-playing experience that they add into Starfield, potentially then into Elder Scrolls 6, potentially in remasters. Because what are they going to do for that long? People will not even know what the Fallout franchise is. Because let's be real, 76 doesn't have like a massive, massive player base or anything. So unless you're going to go back and I can handle playing Fallout 3 New Vegas, right? But a lot of people, in the same way they won't play Oblivion, a lot of new people, new generation of gamers, it's too old and clunky.
Because you're also talking not even now, you're talking in 5 years time when Elder Scrolls, say Elder Scrolls 6 drops, there hasn't been a Fallout game from that point, for 10 years over.
Exactly. And it is hard, and I can't really blame them because I'm making a video on Oblivion, right? And it's about how people can play Oblivion if they've only played Skyrim, because people struggle. They struggle with the mechanics, they struggle with the graphics and the feel of it. I can't understand that because I grew up with Oblivion. But I can understand that when I look at me going back and playing Morrowind, which wasn't my first Elder Scrolls game. And I'm like, this feels clunky for me.
More of a curve to it.
There's more of a learning curve, and you have to get used to it. So you got to think how long there's been without a Fallout game.
Yeah. Do you know what's crazy though? I remember when back in the day we would look at projects like Sky Oblivion and stuff like that. We're like, you know, what if I don't think they'll get done for Elder Scrolls 6 or whatever.
Yeah.
All of these fan-made projects now are getting out there. There was like Fallout London recently, and it looks really cool, interesting. They've basically rebuilt London. They've got, you know, complete freedom to make whatever sort of factions and stuff because, you know, it's across the seas. They don't have to rely too heavily on pre-existing
There's
lore.
a lot they can
just
do.
the vibe. There's so much. There was an announcement trailer recently. I think it's actually coming 2023. But what I'm saying is, like, that game, you're actually getting functionally like a Fallout mod game, but this is you could probably have that twice over by the time you get to Fallout 5. Like, Fallout is... Some of these things are really left in the hands of modders. It's the same as like Elder Scrolls at the moment. It's Sky Oblivion, Beyond Skyrim projects, all of this.
And look, as much as I'm a big fan of these mods, I'm actually not a fan of this approach. And I hope that, like, you look at Starfield.
So the approach of Bethesda.
The approach of Bethesda, sorry, just to clarify. Even the approach of the fans, though, when they look at Starfield and they go, this is a modder's paradise, you know, and Bethesda thinks that too. And it's like, that's really cool. But I'd rather just like sick games that don't necessarily need. Of course, modders get involved with an amazing game and put stuff on top of it. But I'm not the biggest fan of making empty playgrounds for modders to come. I would rather, you know, handcrafted field playgrounds that modders can add to.
Because I feel like that's the thing is like in like the kind of principle behind modding, and I think Bethesda why they like it and so on. It's kind of like replicating almost the tabletop RPG feel. So like, you know, you buy a book and you get the set and so on, and everyone's sitting around the table playing it. But then people can kind of like make up their own like lore and bend the rules and do what they want, right? Same sort of principle for a game. They can mod and like sort of customize the game how they want. But the first reason you got it, because, oh, this will be cool, this is a cool setting or whatever, if they start like relying too heavily on like you do it yourself, it's just not.
I think it's always better to allow, to make the game, and this is how I think Fallout 5 should be designed, and Elder Scrolls 6 hopefully, although we don't know what the settlement building focus is going to be in that game. You have to design it almost as if settlement building isn't a thing. I honestly think that provides the best map, the best layout, the most amount of fleshed out quests, and then put it on top. You know, like if you have a game like Skyrim that's not really designed for it, then put it on top. It's better because when you design your whole map around it, you just have these huge empty spaces that could have had cool things in them. And I do not want Fallout 5 to have that.
Here's a question for Fallout 5, because remember we've got to like wait for Elder Scrolls, Starfield. Starfield's obviously got scale, right? Of landmass. Then there's going to be Elder Scrolls 6. We'll see what they do there. Like, what do you actually think with like Fallout 5 size? Like, we might actually get some sort of like, you know, multiple state kind of like huge game?
Because it's possible.
The standards for map size is really different. And also, I feel like maybe with the AI, like if you actually have like real life references of like, you know,
dilapidated
USA,
stuff as well.
Yeah, but like you got the USA, you can kind of copy the landmass with an AI or whatever, and then you can start.
It is a long time to think about the technological implications of that.
But it's crazy.
Probably goes beyond the scope of this video.
Because it's also then it's like what's west or east, or maybe they like put the map in the middle.
There were rumors about New York, I think, as like an early Fallout 4 kind of like when they were thinking like what's the location going to be. So I know a few people think that Fallout 5 could be set in New York. I mean, that could be a pretty cool.
I just hope they just kind of disregard like I hope 76 is just really not mentioned or thought about or anything.
Well, actually, like I'll give some credit, right, to Fallout 76, and that credit is that the environment was actually pretty cool.
Yeah, the physical
and so the physical environment. I mean, obviously the environmental storytelling and everything will suffer because there's no NPCs, no factions, none of the cool stuff we love.
Nothing to care about. Really.
Nothing to care about.
But there was some sick monsters and stuff too.
Cool
like
monsters and beautiful looking things. You know, there's like the temple and like just all kinds of cool ecosystem environments and stuff. Because you hear a lot of people say like, oh, you know, Bethesda won't make they won't make the environment necessarily that interesting or new or whatever. You know, look at how New Vegas went from Fallout 3 and they made this iconic new place, and it's in, you know, the desert essentially, and you've got, you know, Vegas and the Strip and Nevada and all that. That's all really cool, but I mean, look at 76. Like, you can easily use, I mean, that was done with Fallout 4 assets and things and dragged around, but I have faith that a Fallout game in the future can have a really new and interesting environment and not just be a rundown kind of
I feel like too,
environment.
maybe this is something to like lean on with Starfield a little bit more, but like Bethesda historically have in every game, Fallout 76 included, has made really cool world spaces. Like they've all been interesting and there's always like things to do in them. for the most part. Like, you know, I can't really speak much.
Keep in mind, 76 was kind of like palmed off, but but like obviously they're taking the same assets.
Like, this is just me. I can't remember where I heard this, whatever. But the most involvement I think Todd Howard and his sort of like main team sort of had was in creating the world space or something.
Anyway,
I don't know. Look, that's just a rumor of rumors.
Trust me, source. Trust me, bro, on that one.
So, well, not that.
But in general, I think that the environment will be the least of our concerns. And the cool thing is though, because usually, and this is a point that a lot of people haven't given credit for, but listening to feedback, often game series, like, they don't really go back. Like, things tend to go one way. And so it was scary to look at and see, like, okay, they've done a voiced protagonist. I don't know if they'll go back to not having a voiced protagonist because, you know, it's just, it looks better. It's more cinematic and, like, you know, whatever, more immersive, especially to casuals who aren't going to use their imagination to role play as much. Whereas now with Starfield, they've done it. Yeah. And so I'm actually optimistic about Elder Scrolls 6. You know, we'd always worry, I don't want Elder Scrolls 6 to have a voice protagonist. I'd almost say definitely won't after Starfield not having it. And I'd say the same about Fallout 5. You'd hope so. Yeah. Especially, again, if it's received well.
Dude, it's also so much work. Like, as they expand, like, whatever Starfield's 200,000 words, lines of dialogue, whatever it is, right? All of that, if you want to keep expanding the worlds, bigger, better, more NPCs, more interact, more options, you've got to voice act everything the protagonist potentially says. It's much easier just to write it and have the player just, you know, think the voice out loud.
Yeah, because that's the cool thing. When they say we've got X amount of voice lines, those aren't including player dialogue lines from what I know. I'm pretty sure that's spoken voice actor stuff.
Yeah.
So it is cool.
Yeah. But it's like, it is that thing where it comes down to, again, it's just like, surely they're going to capitalize with some kind of remasters, or if we're being super ridiculous optimistic, like maybe there's another studio underneath the Bethesda Microsoft umbrella that gets a crack at some sort of New Vegas-esque sort of halfway between, like, because I'm sure you could, but the thing is, I feel
if
like
they don't, people will forget Fallout exists, and that's the problem.
Yeah. And you just don't want to let those IPs go undercooked. Like, there's so much potential, like, even for them from a money perspective.
Yeah.
Like, imagine if there was in between every Elder Scrolls game, there was like a New Vegas equivalent kind of thing, like another world space. Like,
even besides that, because like a remaster in theory is easier. Like, you don't need to have like quest writers and like story writers and all this kind of. There's a lot of like work done up. It's already done, and yet it would sell like it's a new game. Like, so you could easily do that. And then do you know what else you could do if you wanted to make money? And also, I'm helping them out here. Not like they haven't thought of this. Put some Creation Club stuff in there if you love it so much.
Yeah.
If I got a remaster and they're like, it's Fallout New Vegas, it's all remastered with new graphics and like, you know, the gunplay feels more like... They'd have to change a few things with that, like the gunplay and that. It'd be a bit weird. But say it's all remastered, all cool and everything, but then they're like, oh, we want to make more money off this even. And they have some Creation Club thing on the side. Big deal. You can pay money for like, you know, but essentially paid mods. I know a lot of people aren't a fan of that, but I'm just saying like, if that's what you have to get for them to remaster it and for that remaster to be more viable to them, I'm happy to just give me a remastered New Vegas.
Someone could maybe explain this in the comments, but like, I don't see, and maybe it doesn't make sense on the financial back end, but like, why for the last like, even for 5 years after the release, could they not do like big expansion size DLCs for Skyrim or for Fallout 4? Like, other DLCs
I think there's
not
a lot
profitable
of I think there's a lot of reasons, but I think as well, like, people, they move on to new games.
Yeah.
And think of how long it already has
what
taken
about the hardcore fans?
Think about how long it's taken them already to get where they've got, and that's without doing 5 more Skyrim DLCs. I also think like people who were like key players in certain games leave or like move to different duties, and it's kind of like maybe it would be weird to have. But then again, modders do it, so sometimes I'm like, no excuses. Modders will just come in, like, use the same assets and build entire mods. I'm like, what's your excuse? Yeah, you could just do this and sell it.
Fresh assets too, like even like things like this, like Skyblivion has a lot of like completely new ones, and like this London thing obviously did. But like a lot of those games, it's just like they're doing that on like what do you call it? Volunteers, basically. Like volunteers are sort of going in there, or maybe there's some monetary things, I don't know, but like. You know, imagine a paid team behind it. Like, it can be done. Like, I feel like the whole, like, 5 year... I don't know.
It's a bit of a meme.
I don't know. Like, if you took these modding teams that are doing things like Skyblink, because obviously they've already got engines and assets to work with, but why don't you just pay a studio under a really big umbrella to do the same thing, take the same assets or whatever, and make a new experience?
I don't know. It is what
Print
it is.
money, print money, bro.
You could just,
and then we'll get cool new games. You know?
Yeah, I know.
So-
It does seem like the obvious win-win, but at the end of the day, hasn't been done yet. There is a Fallout problem.
Strap in for Fallout 5 in 10 years plus.
We'll see. Hopefully, it can get accelerated with some Microsoft
Dude,
money.
actually,
but who
that's
knows?
actually insane. I like on the road to 40. Like,
Yeah.
that's a thing.
Like literally, like I've got a few tiny little gray hairs, even though I'm mid-20s kind of thing.
Yeah.
I'll have a lot more by the time Fallout 5 comes
Yeah.
out. Let's just say that. But thank you all for tuning in. These are the kind of conversations that we tend to have off screen, and we just think, why not have them in front of a camera? Kind of let everyone in on it. See what you guys think about it as well, because it's fun. It's fun to talk about.
Absolutely.
And let us know if you want to see some Fallout content potentially. If we've got a little Fallout itch, maybe we'd have to hop in and make another build or make a lore video. Just let us know.
Man, even like it would be a commitment, but like a let's play, like a Fallout 4. Like, I haven't played Fallout 4 in a long while.
Like properly, like
it'd probably feel pretty
completionist.
fresh and
Yeah,
fun.
yeah, we could do that. Anyway, let us know. Thanks for tuning in. Social media links are in the description below. Go check out our old Fallout 4 builds if you want to do a new playthrough, or let us know what new one you want to see, or what mod we could use to make a really fresh build. Thanks for watching, and we'll nerd
See you
out with
later.
you again next time.